Good morning, guys. Welcome back. So for this part of the video, I'm going to go ahead and do the 11.3 worksheet activity. And this one is the one where we have to solve each problem. There are a total of 15 problems. You have to find the area of the regular polygon and find its matching answer in the answer box, which is over here on the second page. Now, the directions ask us to decode the answer to the riddle using the letter of the answer associated with each answer. And then we're going to be rounding it to the nearest tenth. However, the answer box is actually they're all whole numbers, so there's no rounding it to the nearest tenths. It's just the nearest whole number. So here we have, why do seals swim in salt water? And so remember, so for this section we've learned about finding the area of a regular polygon. And we have two options. We have, again, it's 1/2 times the apothem, which is this portion here, from the center to the end of the polygon. To one, basically it touches. It's kind of like a radius, right, from the center to the end point here. Or we can also use this one where it's 1/2 times the apothem times n. N is the number of sides for this regular polygon, and then s is just the side length of 1. So depending obviously on what you have and what information you're given, then obviously you'd use the one that is easiest to work with or the fastest. That way you're not taking up too much time to figure out each problem. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to be doing all of them because there are 15 of them, but I will do a few, and then just to kind of lead you on to what you guys would be doing on your own. Okay, so for the very first one, we have so it's a square, side length is 15, and then the apothem is 7.5, and I'm going to go ahead and just use the 1/2 times a times p, just because it's less numbers to multiply. And I'm going to go ahead and solve this one right over here. So number 1, so I'm going to go ahead and use the 1/2 a times p, and I'm just going to go ahead and substitute what I have. So 1/2, the apothem is 7.5, and the perimeter, well, it's 15 times 4, which is 60. Then I'm going to go ahead and just cancel this one, the 60 and the 2. So it's 7.5 times 30. When I plug that into my calculator, I get actually exactly 225 square feet, since I am dealing with feet in this case. Okay. So I'm going to be looking for this answer in my answer box, and 225 ends up being W. So for every one that I see here, I'm going to go ahead and write a W. So here I would go ahead and write a W. And it seems like that's the only one. Okay. Alright, so then we move on to the second problem. The second one is very similar. So I'm going to be using the same formula, 1/2 a times p. So I have 1/2. The apothem is 4, and the perimeter is 14 times 3, which is 42. I'm going to go ahead and simplify these. This becomes 21. And then I'm just left with 4 times 21, which is 84 square feet. Okay, so then I find this one into my answer box, 84. It turns out to be, that's a B. So for every 2, I'm going to write a B. So B. And then there's only 1, 2. Okay? Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Again, similar idea to the last two problems. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. So 1/2 AP, 1/2 A. I like to set it up exactly as my formula, just so I'm familiarizing myself with the apothem and just the layout of it. Okay. And then the perimeter is 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 50. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and simplify these two. Note that I'm always trying to simplify whenever I can, just so that it's easier for me to work with these numbers and multiply them into my calculator, or just in my head if I'm doing that. So this is actually about 172.5. So when I round it off, it's 173 squared feet. Okay, so in some cases, do note that you're going to have to round it off. So 173, it turns out to be a letter E. So I go back and I search for all my 3's and write a letter E. And this is a really fun part, just really getting to fill in these and then find the answer to the riddle. Okay. Now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is a little bit different, and you'll see that in this case they didn't give us the apothem, so we're actually going to have to figure that one out ourselves, regardless of which formula we do end up using. So number 4, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm going to make up a triangle here. And I know that the side length is 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually end up cutting this triangle or bisecting the triangle in half. This is going to form a 90-degree. If the whole thing is 10, then half of that is going to be 5. Now, I need to find out what this angle here is so that I can use the, any trig function. So sine, cosine, tangent to find out this side here, which I'm just going to go ahead and label A for the apothem. So in order to find the central angle, right, this whole thing is a central angle right here, I'm going to be doing 360 divided by the number of sides. So 360 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 60. And then if I'm only using a half of that, that half of 60 is 30. So this angle here is 30 degrees. And now I'm going to go ahead and create my trig ratio. So remember, we have SOHCAHTOA. Now this one, from this perspective, I'm going to be going opposite, adjacent. And then I look for opposite and adjacent, which turns out to be the tangent. So now I'm going to go ahead and do tangent of 30 equals 5 over A. I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by A, just so that I don't have any fractions to work with. And then I want to solve for A, so I'm just going to divide both sides by tangent of 30. And I am left with 5 over tangent of 30, which is about 8.7. And I'm going to be using this along with my formula. So now I'm going to go ahead and do 1/2 A times P. Well, I know my apothem is 8.7. My perimeter is 10 times, how many did we say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's times 60. And then I'm going to again reduce these. So this is a 30, and then that simplifies, or that reduces, that equals about 261 squared feet. So I look for that into my answer box, which is S. And then for every 4, I'm going to go ahead and write an S. Okay, so you start to pretty much continue to work with these, and then depending again on what you have, you're going to either, in this case we had to create the triangle, find the central angle, and then use the trig functions to find the apothem. So these have to do with a little bit of more work, but again, it's something that we've already done. It's just making sure that you remember that you're going to have to go back to several chapters for these parts, unlike these that were very straightforward and we pretty much just used our formula for that. Okay, and then these, there's some that they don't give you a drawing, they actually tell you the specific, so they tell you it's an octagon with a perimeter of 96, and so you need to obviously know what the vocabulary words here mean, right? The octagon has 8, in this case a pentagon has 5, triangle, we know it's 3, hexagon, that could be one that could kind of troublesome, but it's 6, nonagon is 9, so be mindful of all those words. Okay guys, so we're going to stop here, and then we will go ahead and review chapter 11, 1.1 to 11.4 for the next lesson.